going to go ahead and get this party started here. So, excuse me. So, I was talking to Banks before we got going this morning about where we are. So, let's just kind of do a little kind of top down look at things going into this week. This Monday, there's not really. Good morning, Ron. There's not really any like news today to speak of. So just put that in your hat. There is G20 meetings today. Some G20 meetings tomorrow. Tomorrow we have lighter news. There's some international news. Some Canadian stuff, CPI for them, and then for us, there's building permits, which again, kind of a quiet week. FOMC talkers, but no FOMC stuff. And then Wednesday, again, rather muted on the news front, other than if you're a crude trader. Thursday, we get unemployment. So, we're kind of in an interesting, not so interesting spot from my standpoint, right where we are. But let's talk about it. So this is a chart of weekly range and volume profile, looking at the last handful of weeks. If you've been around at all, you know that overlapping value week over week or day over day is pretty important. So we have this value, overlapping, and overlapping. So this week is kind of pivotal because there's a chance, and this is RTH only, by the way. This is a week of just displaying the RTH ranges. So you've obviously got this gap from last week where we gapped down and then continued that. And then we've got the rest of this gap from the election gap up that is still RTH, untraded, basically. So that's this range is something to watch for this week. We're not there yet. And then cleaning up this little bit of range down here. But the bigger narrative on the weekly is can we keep our value from overlapping as this week develops? And if so, that really kind of closes off, in my work, this entire range and kind of locks it in, right? As a distribution, a wide distribution with key balance areas to pay attention to and key value. And so inside of this, now obviously we're talking hundreds of points, right? 1,000 points or something. But inside of this, from a weekly standpoint, what that tells me is there's a lot of room to just kind of mill about in here, right? So then we got to go down to something else to kind of tidy that up. But this week, those are this mid could be a great kind of key spot to just mentally have in mind. The mid of these weekly values and the mid of the entire balance is right here between like 20,000.
Baba, I don't see any screen.
Oh, my bad, dude. 1 second. I'm streaming on live prep on YouTube, and I paid so much attention to getting that sorted that I did not go back over to the chat and set it up for you guys. Sorry.
Oops.
All right, so you're good now. So basically, just was saying we've got a couple of gaps from overnight hanging out. This from last week from RTH to ETH, and then still have a little bit of this left to explore down here. And this pivotal spot that I'll be looking at on the weekly is just this divide between like in this 640 area. I don't know that I want to be like over fading above that. Just from the standpoint of rotation, then it would make sense to go up and try to interact with this gap from that overnight inventory. So that's the weekly. We'll make light work of the daily. So everybody that's freaking out that we're about to be at the open, newsflash, I'm not in a big hurry for today, and probably won't do a lot, but we'll see. So this is a bit much to look at, so I'm going to kind of explain what's going on. So we had this island day with no overlapping value to the right. Our key little kicker on Friday was that we were opening below the point of control for an island day. So we wanted to look to entertain the sell side, which we did, which was fun. Made for an easy Friday. So if everybody that was hanging around, that was a good time. And now we're back into an old range, and that old range is this balance area high, down to this balance area low, which we traded below on Friday. And anytime we trade below and recover a balance area, we want to go lean back the other way, right? So then we're back inside the value of that old distribution, which runs from 517 to 740, with the 620 not only being the mid of this value, but also 640 being the mid of weekly balance. So 620, 640 is really the breaking point. Above that, I'm going to look to trade higher into this distribution. And you can see the high of overnight is the low of value from this key day. I still think it's likely that we see it trading up to fully test just above Friday's high and into that point of control. And I think we can look at this area as kind of our kicker. If we're going to see a bullish week this week, I'd like to see us trade below Friday's low and then pick the pace back up. Now, if we trade below Friday's low and can't recover it, then that will obviously tell us a lot, right? So we're looking at Monday. Is Monday going to make the high or the low of the week? Then statistically, if we trade below Friday's low and recover it, then Monday has a good look to try to make that low of the week and continue higher. If Monday if Monday stays above Friday's low and trades above the high and we suck back in, then you've got the opposite scenario where Monday has a chance of being a little better chance of being the high of the week. But statistically, it would be more likely that Tuesday would do that work. So let's let it all kind of unwind. But for immediate places of interest, it's going to be this mid of this value 620 to 640. Nestling as close to that execute is ideal. Otherwise, we look to this value area high around 580 and this value area low from Globex around 550. And we look at this like a kind of I'm going to be hands off there. If we can spin off this value area low and look to trade below overnight low and below Friday's low, that would be plenty. That's a couple hundred points. Conversely, any failure in this range, I would look to completely reverse all of that inventory. So using this area as the first TP on the way back up. So we'll see what unfolds from that. The last little bit is I don't want to be fading until we get something that moves lower that looks great, because from a historical standpoint of RTH, so New York Session Delta, we have this kind of 445 to 550 that could be real rotational as we try to work through this previous positioning, which is what these pink boxes represent. And then kind of below that, we can see kind of a release of about 100 points that we could be on the hook for. So, another scenario is that we get some kind of bullish setup in this range and rotate lower. From a delta standpoint, from Friday into Asia session into Euro session, we have a mixed bag. So there's no clear directional perspective coming from that. Again, want to be careful with positioning in the range that we're in, based off of this area, this look right between value area low. It looks like we just opened up a second ago and kind of peaked below it. So 517 is the next rung on the ladder. That could be the kicker. I'm going to keep going with a little prep into the open because I'm not super interested in executing right here. So if we go to a daily chart over here, we can see that we have some support lurking just, it's 60, 80 points below Friday's low. We have kind of a decent area from a daily standpoint that we could look at. that adds a little confluence to the idea of Monday making a good low that we can lean on into Tuesday, Wednesday, even into Thursday possibly. Um, but nothing else to really glean from that, right? That we made a rotation high last Monday and then rolled off. And to the point of that stat, Monday trading above Friday's high and closing back inside created a scenario where it was probable that Monday held the high of the week. And then you see this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of red action. So, um, jumping over to a 4 hour standpoint, we're kind of here floating in what looks like no man's land a little bit. The key thing that we've tested that kind of I wasn't here for this late in the day on Friday, but we tested this move to the low, right? This high that brought us to this fresh low that led to this move up, and then that was tested on Friday almost to the tick, 417s, recovered off. So what Monday can inform us of if we roll up, so we've tested this support, if we roll up here on Monday and even into maybe Tuesday a little bit and we fail somewhere above, right, then we get the chance to really be kind of potentially free falling depending on the route that we take to go up there. We get the chance to kind of target even trading below, obviously, Friday's low and looking to challenge into this swing low, right? But we need a little more information. We need to get, from a daily standpoint, we need to get Monday closed. From a 4 hour standpoint for today, we need to see where we are at 10 o'clock, and that could give us a little perspective. Also, we're kind of, we're in this historic delta positioning area where we've had heavy positioning during RTH in the past, which this could get rotational in here. Clearing this 553 might make the case to go test. Excuse me. Clearing this 550 and getting back inside of value from overnight would definitely make me look that it's likely to test this 620. But again, we're getting above that and bidding off of it would be a better risk trade for me. Jumping down into the nitty gritty of the 1 hour, we can see this line represents the close of Friday. The last price that we traded, not during after 4 p.m., right? And so we've kind of got a range we're looking at off of that. You can see how even from a 20-day profile standpoint, peaking below value from a 20-day standpoint gets us below Friday's low and gets us into another little nestled support from an hourly standpoint that would also be kicking or picking up at least within range of this daily support as well. So there is a little something down here. The question is whether we can get down there and test it today and then recover and start like a rally week to kind of walk back some of this move down from last week, some of this profit taking and whatnot, or if we don't find buyers down here. So that I feel like we have some clear spots and zones, but we're kind of just a little bit out of range of all of them for right now. So with no news driver today and kind of being in this, what I would consider a little bit stuck in the mud from a New York session historic delta perspective and all that, I feel like it might be prudent to give this a little time, wait for something really nice to set up. For dying for trades, we drop down to the Renko to give us a little perspective, and it is flashing bearish here after that push up. But we have this curling, right? So again, the reason there's a lot of non-committal on my end is that's where I feel like the market is right now. It's kind of between spots where the market really has to decide. So let's let them get to one of those places and then make our decisions, right? We can give this 15-minute range, which would be the last piece of our normal, what we go through every day for those of you that are watching on YouTube. This 15-minute range from Friday we did not trade above the high that we made in the first 15 minutes, and we closed below the point of control from a volume standpoint there. So we traded lower on Friday, right? Below us, we have this other zone that was the opposite. It was a 15-minute, I'm not going to go all the way back to it, but it was a 15-minute range off of RTH Open that we never traded below the low of here at 140. And so oftentimes we see this type of sandwiching, which we saw some last week, where you get these opening drives, right, that kind of set up some boundaries. The interesting thing is we had one off the highs, retested it, had one this day, milled about, and then had another one this day. We still have an untested volume point of control here from 15-minute and an untested volume point of control here from a 15-minute, and then we have one down here. And once this 15-minute today closes, we'll have a little more clarity on the vibes for this day. So, in a nutshell, it feels a little like we'll hold off and let some more information come to us. See if we can get up and challenging the 630s back into value for weekly, back above the mid for this distribution. And I hate to say, like, keep your expectations low, but we are inside of value for Friday. We're inside of value for overnight currently. And we're inside of value for this old distribution of being above 517. So, you know, if you look at all these like magnets with gravity, it's kind of a clustered up mess. Then you rope in the historic delta that's sitting in these areas, right? And you just have a recipe for some tough trading, in my opinion, for a Monday with no news. So would not be surprised by some balance here, folks. Rotational trading. And for that environment is when we look to lean in on some of our 20-minute range work that's over here. So currently above the prior hourly mid at 528. So that's slightly bullish. Trying to get above this historic cluster. Not looking to be shorting this up through here. This is a pretty big gap in RTH activity that goes way higher. So we would have to anticipate that as we pushed up somewhere, something would pop, but we want to be careful not to just be blindly fading this till we get closer to that 630 spot off this 620 to 640 is where the first spot would be. If you're in a long, that'd be a great place to look to target for profit taking, and then into this mid is where we could see it maybe run away a little bit, and there might be a long trade up there, but not digging it out of the dirt just yet. And that's about it. That is the full clip, as they say. So yeah, if you're joining on YouTube, we're gonna close this, hop it off. We're in the Discord every day, and we'll try to do some of these preps on YouTube a little more often, just to kind of let people see kind of what we look at and how we come into a day, how we come into a week. So if you find it helpful, jump in and say hi. We have a free side of the Discord and a side that's paid. Shoot me a message on Twitter if you find this interesting. If you have any questions, we got a pretty decent library of videos available to add clarity to any of the stuff I talked about. And yeah, catch you later. Appreciate it. All right.